Hello everyone. At this point, I have played Resident Evil Requiem for the majority of the weekend. So I thought this would be my first sort of off-the-cuff, no-script review. Obviously going forward, there's going to be some pretty heavy spoilers for the game. So if you haven't beaten the game yet, watch with caution. So let's just get into the things that I like about the game. And yes, I did like this game. I would say it's pretty high up there on the Resident Evil tier list. It is not perfect, but it brings a lot of really good stuff to the table. My first playthrough, I played Grace in first person and Leon in third person. And honestly, it worked. It was pretty seamless going back and forth. I tried to play Grace in third person. It felt weird. I think her segments of the game just work in first person. Her voice acting was a little annoying at first, I'm not gonna lie. She does a lot of stammering, and I thought it was really overplayed until I got to see some more of her backstory, and then it really sort of fit her character because realistically she's been through some pretty traumatic stuff. And then of course by the end of the game, the final cutscenes, she doesn't really have it anymore, she's more confident, and it really leans into her character growth. On the topic of her voice acting, I also liked the sort of scared breathing that she was doing throughout the game. Really helped sell the atmosphere and the fear that she was experiencing. And the same for Leon. Kudos to both their voice actors. Everything was in order. Leon had some great lines, snarky without being too over the top. Now about the atmosphere and the horror. Rhodes Hill, the care center, that's the best section of the game. It's one of the longer segments of the game, especially on your first playthrough. A lot of exploration to do, a lot of sneaking around, a lot of dark areas where you have to navigate with only a lighter or a flashlight. The hospital is just gorgeous. The graphics were amazing. The details, not to jump the gun here a little bit, but I would say that Rhodes Hill is probably one of the most iconic settings in the series, right up there with Spencer Mansion and the RPD. And that's not to say that the Baker House or the settings in RE8 aren't great, but we spend a lot more time in the care center, and every single room really has character to it. It became something that I didn't want to leave, to be honest. The enemy variety, the different personalities of the different zombies, really fun. Chunk, the big fat zombie, he was entertaining. The girl, or the hag, whatever you want to call her, she did her job. She was scary. It didn't feel like she overstayed her welcome. There's definitely a segment of the game when you're under the hospital that felt like it was directly out of Amnesia: The Bunker. And, if you haven't played that game, that's basically it. So, someone on the Capcom team definitely was taking a page out of that book. Victor Gideon, the villain, at first when I watched the trailers, I was a little concerned that he would be just a little too corny. But honestly, he worked. His voice actor did a good job. I think the lines they chose for the trailer kind of just put him in a bad light. So I was overall very satisfied with him. Leon's segments, the return to RPD, that was iconic. The RPD itself was a nostalgia bomb. They pretty much put in everything they could put in to make fans geek out. The locations, the notes by Barry, Tofu made an appearance. I did not expect that. In a million years would I have expected that to be in the main game. Tofu peeking behind the window. Mr. X, not the Mr. X, but one of the super tyrants shows up. And you have to fight and kill him, which that was a fun fight. I actually liked that fight quite a bit. So, lots of things to see there. Lots of cool little Easter eggs. Did they overdo it? Maybe, but after 30 years, I don't know if you can really overdo that sort of thing. I think every fan's going to really enjoy that. The music is really great in this game, especially the RPD segments. The save room theme, it's not the best in the series. It sort of blends with the previous few games. It's not like a super iconic track, but there are a lot of other really good scores throughout the game that sort of make up for it. The weapon variety in this game is great. You know, it's mostly Leon who's getting the big variety of guns and upgradables, but I think that worked, and restricting Grace's gun options really helped sell the survival horror aspect. You know, I've heard some people say it's a little bit weird that you get the Beretta 1934, and then immediately one floor up you get the SIG. You know, I think the way they designed the game, I didn't get the SIG for quite a while, and that's because I was so low on ammo, there was just absolutely no way that I was going to be fighting through the bar lounge area. And so it took me a while to backtrack and get that SIG, but then, you know, once you have that, that is your primary weapon throughout the rest of Grace's segments, and it really grew on me. I want to get my hands on one of those, so I was not disappointed with that. Obviously, you get to use the Requiem revolver quite a bit, and then her injector takedowns are pretty fun, pretty entertaining to see the blood stay there when zombies explode. So it was just a really fun and dynamic system with the zombies kind of moving room to room. The gore and viscera staying there. I was just really impressed with pretty much everything. Then on to the plot of the game. I mean, I know that they were touting that this was going to be a game that tied up a lot of things or kind of expounded on a lot of things. But it really took me by surprise. You know, 7 and 8, they tied into the main storyline, but, you know, kind of in a roundabout way. This game just like head on dove into the main nitty-gritty parts of the story. You know, with Oswell Spencer, Grace, the connections. I mean, Tricell made an appearance. Just a lot of things that were cool to see. A lot of things that were answered. You know, we're learning about the truth behind the missile strikes on Raccoon City. We're getting to see a new Umbrella facility that was previously otherwise not known about. A lot of people speculated that Leon was going to die. And I mean, in the good ending, you know, he doesn't. I really thought they killed Emily off. And I thought it was kind of brutal for Capcom. I was like, kudos, you know, this is a bold way to go. It sets up this weird, like, character drama for Grace. And they brought her back in the end, which I don't hate. You know, it's cute to see Grace and her mom's photo, and then Grace and Emily's photo on her desk. So I guess it remains to be seen if we're going to see Grace and Emily again in the future, but I think with how well received this game is, it would not surprise me. Alright, so moving on to the things that I did not necessarily like about this game. First off, I thought there was a lack of good puzzles. Now, that's not to say there weren't puzzles in the game, because there were, but man, they were pretty sparse, and the puzzles that they did have, it was like, you know, easy or just more of like a time waster. I mean, the majority of the middle of the game is finding 3 things and plugging them in. You do that like 5 times. It's not really a puzzle. I think that overstayed its welcome. And on that topic, I think the middle of the game dragged on quite a bit. You know, it's like they had a good idea for the beginning and the end, and then they just didn't really know how to properly fill the middle. So, you know, you have Grace in the Renwood Hotel, and then you have her in the care center, and that was great. And then she goes under the care center, and it starts to drag, You switch to Leon, and then the outskirts of Raccoon City were like probably the weakest part of the game. It's a lot of running around. It's not like the iconic stuff, it's just like random buildings. You can find things here and there, but for the most part it was, again, running around, getting 3 things, put them together, you know, do that sort of deal. And then like the worst moment in the game, and I'm sorry if you liked it, but it was the motorcycle stuff. Really leaning into that RE6, over-the-top action, driving on buildings. ramping off a giant building and then having like a Kurosawa samurai fight on motorcycles with Gideon. It was not to my taste. And honestly, I thought they killed Gideon off in that fight, in that sequence. And I was going to be very angry because that was a very lame way for him to go out. Obviously, he does come back in the end. So I was glad for that. But these segments are a small blemish on an otherwise really good game. You know, after that, immediately you're going to the RPD, then the Arc Lab, and the Arc Lab was great. I mean, it was aesthetic, probably one of the best looking labs in the series. Lots of great choices there. But the other two things that I kind of nitpicking on, and these are small, minor gripes, the gun skins, the bonus gun skins, really kind of suck. You know, if you're going to go for like apocalypse themes, definitely don't just do like a basic Splinter camo pattern. You know, do some like rusty, grungy Mad Max looking stuff. I feel like they really missed an opportunity there. And then of course, once again, no like mercenaries mode, just in the base game. I'm sure there's going to be DLC out or updates out for this game, but I know there's a lot of people that blitz through this, maybe even 100%ed it. Now they're looking for something else to do, and, you know, they're going to have to wait. So, but that's, you know, really about it. I mean, it was a great game. I don't know what else to say. I think, you know, I share that opinion with the majority of people. There's probably only going to be a few naysayers that really hate on it, but overall, you know, I would have to give this an 8.5, maybe an 8.75 out of 10. If it wasn't for the middle segments just really dragging on and the repeated find 3 things, which, you know, do it once, do it twice. Don't do it so many times. That's about it, you know. Let me know what you guys thought about the game in the comments. Let me know if you hate my thoughts. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if I was wrong, because I probably was. Like I said, this is an off-the-cuff review, which is not my typical MO, so I might be misremembering, even though I did play it a few times. You know, anything's possible. So, thanks guys for watching, and I will be back with more Resident Evil 9 gun content very soon. Thank you.